Have you ever wondered why your budget finishes before you even reach maybe half of the month? Where does money go? And do you always feel like you should have more money than you actually do? Well, today I'm going to walk you through why it is exactly that your money feels like doesn't last as long as it should. What are some tricks and tips that the marketing industry and the corporate world in general and social media as well are trying to use to make you spend your money in ways that you don't need to or you don't really actually want to use your money for? And three, at the end of the day, how you can reclaim your financial freedom and be aware of these marketing tricks and combat them in a way that helps you make more of the money that you work so hard for. So, if you're interested in any of these things, then keep on watching. And before we jump into this, hi, my name is Francesca. I'm a vice president at a multinational company, and I've been a huge personal finance nerd for the past decade. I've read probably 25 or more books on the topic, and I now spend my time teaching others to reclaim their money and their time so that they can reach financial freedom on autopilot. So, if any of this sounds interesting, then I always leave my Calendly link below so you can book a free discovery call with myself and we can get to know each other and your financial goals. So, the first big segment basically of these tricks that work in order to make you spend money in ways that you don't actually plan to is what we can call the shopping biases. And there's a lot of tricks that I've definitely encountered, whether online or in person in stores, but you may not be aware of. And the first one is the anchoring bias. So I'm sure you've all walked in a store at some point and you've seen that there's a first price tag, £120, let's say, on an item, and then it's stricken through and there's a new price to this item. There's a £20 or so discount, and your brain is automatically more prone to see this as a bargain, and so you feel this urge almost to buy the item and to kind of snatch up the unmissable bargain and occasion to buy something that is worth more, but you actually get it for less, right? But the amount of companies that do this on purpose and so inflate their prices on purpose and then purposely reduce them to actually eventually land to the price that the item was supposed to be at the same at the oldest time, right? So be very skeptical when it comes to these, one last offer, one last chance, all these things. Marketing teams at corporations and marketing agencies know exactly about these anchoring biases and these scarcity mindset and mentality that is exactly what they're trying to provoke. So always be skeptical when you see two different price drops. And yes, sometimes it's going to be a bargain, like we all have, season sales, etc. So I'm not saying this is all the time, but it's a trait that is used very often by all these companies. And I think the main takeaway here to remember is a discount alone is not a reason to buy. It is a reason to buy if you already genuinely wanted to purchase this item or this service, and then you can make the most of this discount if it is true. And a good example for me was the Ali Abdal part-time YouTuber Academy. That I'm taking currently, and I've been wanting to take for probably more than 2 years, like ever since it got started, really. And during Black Friday, they were doing but pretty much, I think it was 50% off that course. And so it's something that I'd been eyeing for so long. And I knew this was probably going to be the cheapest I would get that course for the foreseeable. So I just, jumped at it and took advantage of this discount. Then another similar kind of, shopping mentality tricks is whenever we receive these vouchers, 50% off, 10% off, 20% off, whatever, right, from all these stores, etc. There's a reason why they give them out, right? It's not out of the goodness of their hearts. It's because they are very aware of these psychological mechanisms that make us not want to waste what we perceive as an opportunity to have free money and free value. But at the end of the day, if you weren't going to spend money at this given retailer, let's say that is giving you this 15% off voucher, then you're not actually saving anything. You're actually spending money that you weren't intending on spending. So again, similar to that anchoring bias, when you want to second guess the price tag and ask yourself, would you have bought that item still if it was full price? You can do the same with whenever you have a voucher and you get that urge of like not wanting to for it to go to waste, and ask yourself, would I buy this thing, this product, this service if I didn't have this voucher? If the answer is yes, then yeah, of course, go ahead and make the most of that 15% off voucher. But if you're just induced to buy something just because to not let this voucher waste, then reconsider, maybe take a step back, take a few minutes to walk around, and then come back to the decision with a fresher mind. And then, last but not least, to kind of wrap up this compilation of the shopping tricks, is the infamous free trial trap, right? How many apps, it feels like all the apps these days, offer you a free trial period that, if you're not careful, auto renews, right? And then before you know it, you're paying for this subscription service that you used once upon a time and forgot to cancel, and now they just have access to your credit card details or debit card, whatever it is, and they routinely just get money away from your account. So always be extremely skeptical with these free trials. One way that I there are ways to take advantage of them, right? So if for example, I've been known to get an Amazon Prime free trial whenever I know that I'm going to have a few Amazon purchases that I make. I just, enroll in the trial, and then I send myself a reminder. I don't like to wait even for the 1 week, because I think I'll be more likely to forget if I wait until the end of the free trial. So I just put a reminder for literally the day after, 2 days after, in my calendar to cancel subscription or cancel free trial, whatever it is. And so you can be strategic around it. I'm not saying never do a free trial, but you need to have some contingency plans to make sure that is not just going to mindlessly roll into the paid plan. And again, I've made mistakes as well. I quite recently, actually, I was charged £50 for a yearly subscription to I think it was a PDF, like a voice to PDF converter, or like a JPEG, I don't know, something about that, like a format converting software that I thought I just paid for once. Like I paid £2 for this one document that I wanted, converted, and then sneakily they put these like very, small clause at the end of some page, and before I knew it, I was charged actually £50. So it's risky, like it's tricky, and so that's why I always say have some types of contingencies that you put in place to escape and not be victim of these systems that try to honestly get your money away from you. Now, the second broad reason why it feels like your money is never enough, and it's not lasting as long as it should, is the social contagion phenomenon, right? So the keeping up with the Jonases 2.0, basically social media version. And the first thing is that we've never been so overexposed to overconsumption across all channels, all day, every day. This is on billboard, it's on your phone constantly, on apps and ads, and you're constantly being bombarded and made to believe that spending above your means is the new norm. And I talked about it in another video that I made recently, but you need to remember that even these people that are living these lavish lifestyles, jetting off on private jets and buying Louis Vuitton purses every other day, they are not even living that life themselves, because often they're on credit card debt, and so they are basically living on credit. They don't actually afford that lifestyle. They're just perpetually loaning money basically to afford a lifestyle, and or it's stuff that it's given to them by brands, and so it's free basically for them. So if they had to pay for that lifestyle themselves, they wouldn't be able to afford that. So be careful about this, and always try to establish an enough number. So it's a world where they're going to try to make you believe that your enough is not enough. And so it's extremely important that you try to abstract away from what society tries to tell you should have, you should consume, you should do, and really look inwards and think, what are the things that I want to spend my money on? What are the things that I care about and I'm willing to splurge on, versus the things that I don't give a toss about and I don't want to partake in? And really try to protect your definition of enough, because otherwise it's going to be very, very difficult to ever feel fulfilled, even when you reach the next goalpost, even when you reach the next financial milestone that you set yourself. If you don't intrinsically think that this is what you need, you're never going to feel like you're fulfilled. And I've been there myself. um, I reached the milestone of a six-figure salary, something that I remember thinking about when I was 22, out of uni, just out of uni, incredulously, just something that was like a pipeline dream, like impossible, basically. And then you get to that point, and immediately you're like, oh wow, it feels so normal. And what's the next thing, And I tried to purposely take a step back and made myself celebrate this huge milestone, and kind of make a bigger deal than I thought it was at that point. So yeah, reflect on your enough number, enough values, enough things, basically, and really then try to stick to it. Maybe put like a freaking post-it note, something like physical, to remind you of this, to try to fight the influence of social media, etc., on making you feel like you're not enough. Then the other point linked to social spending and the social contagion topic is buying things or services to buy an identity that they afford you. And again, it goes hand in hand with being in a society that extremely normalizes overspending and rewards certain status symbols, societal symbols, etc. But we've all been there. This is the whole premise around luxury brands and elite memberships and clubs and invite only type things, right? That are not often invite only, but if you pay enough, you get an invite magically. We all want to belong. We all feel this urge of wanting to signal to the external world that we have made it, that we belong in this society. And especially if you find yourself in certain circles, this is going to be more prominent. I, for example, work with private equity clients, and therefore my circle tends to be more like financial people, finance guys, finance women. And in those circles, it's very normalized to belong to certain clubs and go to the more exclusive restaurants and go to the best gym in town. And I find myself kind of craving for those signs of status. Even if if left by my own devices, I would never actually go out there and invest in like a gym that is £300 a month, because it's simply not needed for me. But I found myself kind of wanting to do that if I don't pay attention to why I'm doing it, just because I want to signal externally that I belong in this kind of circles, etc. And this is the whole premise, again, as I mentioned, around designer jewelry, like luxury jewelry, or luxury purses, etc. Now, all of this, if you have the right reasons to be doing something like this, then by all means splurge. Treat yourself, and especially if it coincides with a big milestone, go ahead. I'll be the first to say that I like to treat myself. I'm not better than than others in this regard, but I try to do it in a way that makes me feel good, because it's a well reflected way. So if I genuinely want the item, if I genuinely want the membership, if I genuinely want the experience, then by all means, if I am in a position that I can afford this, then I will do it. The things that I try and avoid are partaking in societal, again, situations and contexts that I don't want to be in, just because they will signal to others that I'm worth it and that I'm part of a particular elite or whatever other nonsense. So these are the things that I think also with age, honestly, comes more natural, and it will just happen. You will become better at recognizing what you truly care about and what are the things that you don't actually truly care about by yourself. But yeah, so definitely something to be aware of. So now to the part around, how do you fight all of this? How do you reclaim your freedom? How do you reclaim your money? I dropped some tidbits of tips and things that work for me throughout the video, but to summarize and to give you some kind of more general tips, I would say try to add friction as much as you can into your finances. And this is something that I always say to my clients, my personal finance clients. The more manual labor basically you add into your finances, the more you're going to dread, doing the purchase, let's say, the less easy it becomes and the less inclined you are to actually make that purchase. So that's why I don't use budgeting apps that record my purchases directly from my card transactions, but I input it myself manually into a tracker that I use, and has multiple fields. So it's not even that quick of a process. Like I kind of have to take a few seconds to do it. It's because inherently it makes it harder to buy, and that's also why. As much as you can, try and move away from automated purchases of like renewing subscriptions, things like these. Like if you can, try and buy more one-off, instead of just like again making it automated, more practical, more seamless. As counterintuitive as that may sound, because again, if you add friction, then you're only going to do something because you genuinely want to buy the thing or get access to, this thing that we're talking about. And then the other second tool that has always worked for me is to budget with this foresight, almost like knowing that you will have some extra spending. Why not try to preempt it and kind of like budget that into your money routines? So first thing, of course, has to be paying yourself first. You've heard this a gazillion times, but what that means in practice is automating. That's the one payment you should automate. Automating investments from your debit account to whatever broker you use for your stock investments. On the first day of the month, whenever you get paid, a percentage of your salary just goes there before you have a chance to even touch it. All right. So you want to do that as quickly as you can. And then allocate some money aside for like fun purchases. And again, that's why my coaching program, the three buckets are fundamentals, fun, and future you. And fun includes everything that is again non-essential. So going out and may do your nails, the hair, whatever else. So if you pre-allocate money to that, then you are kind of again tricking your brain and preempting for in case you do have one of those expenses that is kind of catches you off guard, but you already put money aside. You kind of factored that expense into your budget, and so it's not going to be a big deal. And ultimately, if by the end of the month you have still some money left in that fun purchases account or money pot, then great, more money that you can invest and put aside for your future. And then last but not least, always remember what the alternative could be if you were not to spend the money on that purchase. So one thing that I that helps me is annualizing the cost of that expense. So if I, especially for monthly recurring things, if I were to say, okay, I pay £300 for this gym, may not sound like too much, let's say on a monthly basis, which I mean arguable, right? It's still quite expensive, but when it becomes very expensive is you annualize it. So times 12, that's £3,600. That's like 2 holidays abroad that you could do otherwise. So annualize your expenses, even like weekly ones. I think it's even more powerful with weekly ones. Also remember, maybe the thing that could work, if you have at hand a quick financial independence calculator, so you can quickly see how much money would be worth, let's say, if it was invested in the market for like 30 years, and you can see how astronomical those numbers are and how big of a role they will play in your financial independence plan. So yeah, just basically being a little bit more mindful, trying not let yourself be tricked into overspending, and in general, just think about yourself first. Think about your real self, not just like oh, I'm gonna treat myself type of way, but in a I'm building towards my future and my financial independence type of way. So if that was interesting, then I hope you'll be here for my next video, and I will see you then. Bye.